What's good, YouTube? It's your boy 100KJ, and we back with another reaction video, man. Um, Today we're gonna be reacting to, hang on, why Rika versus Moraga. I don't know exactly how to say it, but it's not close. I seen this one once I clicked off the Gojo versus Kakashi one, so I wanted to see this one too. So we're gonna go ahead and react to this one. In my opinion, I honestly think if it was Moraga and Rika with their users, of course, so like Rika would have Yuta and Moraga would have. I want to say it wouldn't be Sukuna. The only reason why is because it's not technically Sukuna's. It's not technically Sukuna's ability. He kind of found some type of way to transfer itself over and kind of using somebody else's. So I don't really feel like it's kind of fair to make him the user. But I mean, since he's the only one that has it tamed, I guess we can say he's the user. If that was the case, Rika and Yuta would lose. But if it's just Rika versus Mahoraga, I'm not really sure because Rika has so many different abilities and things that I've seen her display while helping Yuta that I don't know if Moraga would be able to just keep adapting. I feel like eventually Rika would catch on, and she has an arsenal that's big enough to eventually land that blow that would take Mahoraga out. But let's just go ahead and get into the video, and yeah, I'm gonna stop talking and get into the video. So hang on a sec. Look this up. We'll get into it. All right, let's see what they got to say.
This is a versus battle I was asked to do because both of these characters are viewed in the upper tier within the series. Rika is a special grade cursed spirit, and even though Mahoraga doesn't have a grade because he is a Shikigami, most of the fans just assume if you were to place him next to these special grade cursed spirits throughout the show, he is definitely stronger than these special.
Okay, they put Rika, Mahoraga, True Mahito, and Domain Dagon.
Special grade spirits. So the community basically wants to put these two power heads go against each other and see what would happen if they were to fight. But unfortunately for those who are looking for a close fight, I have bad news for you. This fight is not even remotely close. First, I want to say if you enjoy JJK content, then I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, as I post videos every couple days on different topics that you guys give me and a few that I come up with on my own. Now let's get into the video. First, let's get into Rika and talk about how strong she actually is. Rika's power is mainly motivated by love. We see that when people try to attack Yuta, she would display great strength and in some cases go into her awakened form where her eye actually comes out. In this fight though, there is no Yuta to protect, so she wouldn't be fighting in this awakened eye form. She would just be fighting in her base form that we see her in most of the time. The first fight we should go over, where we get the most information on Rika's current strength, is the fight between Ryu and Uro. On her own, Rika is a physical fighter, and we see her get into some important altercations throughout the fight. We know Rika is pretty tough, as when Ryu shoots a blast at her, she can just catch it with her hand. Catching this blast makes Ryu think that Rika is actually tougher than Yuta, which is impressive as Yuta is renowned as having a bunch of curse energy to protect his body, so while fighting him, Ryu says that he feels like he's punching a water tank, and Ryu thinks Rika is even tougher than this. She is able to send Ryu flying with a single punch, something Yuta failed to do while fighting Ryu on the rooftop. Ryu does recover, however, and does send Rika flying backwards as well. So if anything, Rika and Ryu are physically around the same level, as they are able to hurt each other with punches, even sending each other flying. We also know that Rika's lone blast are pretty weak. If anything, they are even weaker than she is, because Ryu himself says that big thing can fire on its own, and he catches a blast from Rika, even stating that this blast wasn't very.
And this is another thing right here. I don't know if this is Rika or Yuta saying this, but the fact that she can copy abilities kind of is crazy too. I wonder if that would play a role in if they were to fight, if she would be able to copy Mahoraga's ability to adapt because from what I've seen, she's taken other people's abilities and like I said, she's kind of they've been able to use it. So I wonder if she's seen the Mahoraga adapting, would she be able to take that ability and use that for herself? That's another thing I'm kind of curious about. But I'm gonna let him keep on. I'm gonna let him continue what he was saying.
Very powerful. At the end of the fight against Ryu is actually able to punch her so hard she dissipates. So within this fight, we learn a couple things. Rika is very strong physically. She can go back and forth with Ryu a bit, but her blasts are very weak. There's another minor thing we can cover when it comes to Rika, and that comes when Yuji is fighting Yuta. Once Rika comes out and holds Yuji, he says that she's so strong he can't even move an inch. This isn't too crazy as it's not like Yuji is this super powerful character or anything, but Yuji definitely is a cut above the average sorcerer and has been stated multiple times to have superhuman strength, so you can take this as you will. Rika is stated to be a curse of boundless curse energy, so in a fight with Mahoraga, she will be able to use as many blasts as she pleases, and curse energy shouldn't be a problem. So going into the fight with her,
that's another big feature that she has. She has endless cursed energy, so she does find like a crazy strong technique. She has an endless amount of cursed energy, which is insane. But yeah.
Her staple will be her punches and blasts, and she will try to get a win based off of these abilities. But unfortunately, if you read the title, then you would know. With all of this in mind, Rika loses badly. Everything I've said up to this point, Rika's strength, her blast, her curse energy, none of it matters in this fight, and I will explain why. So with that being said, let's get into Mahoraga's abilities. First off, he has a sword that completely vaporizes cursed spirits. Yes, can you believe it? That sword that Mahoraga hits Sukuna with has positive energy and instantly kills any cursed spirit it touches. Sukuna himself, even while having 15 fingers worth of strength, says that if he was not inside Yuji's body, that if he was in his cursed spirit form, that he would have died to Mahoraga right then and right there. Positive energy vaporizes cursed spirits because cursed spirits are made up of negative energy. This is why even though Sukuna is so strong, even though he can destroy an entire city with his domain, and even though he can beat down Jogo like it is nothing, one sword swing from Mahoraga would have been enough to kill him in that moment if he was a cursed spirit. And you might be thinking, wow, yeah, the matchup is looking pretty bad for Rika based off of this alone. But this isn't all Mahoraga has. Mahoraga has the wheel on his head, and this wheel is called Furu's Incantation of the 10 Sacred Treasures. This wheel allows for Mahoraga to adapt to any and all phenomena. We see Sukuna slice Mahoraga up a couple times, but once this wheel spins on his head, his body just comes back together in one piece. It gets so crazy that even after Sukuna uses a domain and chops Mahoraga in a bunch of different places, Mahoraga can just get up because he already adapted to these slashing attacks. So what in the world can Rika do against this? But wait, don't answer. It gets even worse for Rika. Not only does Mahoraga have the sword, not only does Mahoraga have the wheel, Mahoraga also has incredible physical strength. Mahoraga hits Sukuna so hard that he sends him flying through buildings, and Gege even said in a chapter extra that Sukuna had actually been punched so hard that he flew outside of the barrier here. I mean, come on, we are talking about 15 finger Sukuna here. Meanwhile, Rika is getting sent flying by Ryu. Mahoraga is sending 15 finger Sukuna flying through buildings and barriers. So let's step back for a second. Mahoraga has strength. Mahoraga has a sword that vaporizes cursed spirits, and a wheel on his head that adapts to any attack. And since Rika is mainly a physical fighter, her punches aren't doing anything. They're getting adapted to or even tanked. Her blast, even weaker than the punches like I covered earlier. So those aren't doing anything either. So I will tell you the best thing Rika can do in a fight against Mahoraga, and that is to run. And you know, it seems that when most people think of this versus battle, at first they think, oh, Rika should win. But after you remind them about this sword that Mahoraga has that vaporizes cursed spirits, then you remind them about the physical strength that Mahoraga has and the ability to recover from any attack and adapt to it, they begin to slowly realize that yeah, Rika's pretty screwed. And also the fact that Rika won't have Yuta here. We know that Rika gets stronger with love, gets stronger with this Yuta amp. If Yuta's not here, those feats that we see her display, say for example the blast that she hits Ghetto with, the only reason that her and Yuta let off a blast that powerful is because Yuta made her fall deeply in love, so they created a super powerful blast. And that blast came from when she was in her awakened state, that state where her eye is open and veiny. That form of her will not be in this fight because, I mean, there's no Yuta. There's no reason for her to get super protective. So she will just be in this fight, and honestly, this is exactly how the fight will go. They will be across from each other, and one sword swing will just take her out. The positive energy around the sword is something that Rika cannot handle. It's not like you can tank something like that. We saw that when Sukuna got hit by the sword, he actually stopped it with his arm. But he said that the positive energy around the sword is the problem. That positive energy will come in contact with Rika and destroy her completely. The only way to beat Mahoraga is to hit him with an attack and take him out in one blow, because you can't use the same attack again because he would just have adapted to it. And like I said, Rika just fights with punches and blast when she's on her own. All of those curse techniques that we see used, that is Yuta using those different curse techniques. Rika is always like a support character. She uses her physical strength like what she does.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So I get what he's saying. He's saying like all of those things, like the weapons and everything, the arsenal that she stores, kind of for Yuta. They're for Yuta. But what I don't agree with is I do think that she can still use them. Like that, for example, that microphone she pulled out when they were fighting Gato. I forgot what the name of the clan was, but it's where you have cursed speech or whatever. I feel like she probably could still pull that out. I don't know. She can talk, so I'd assume she'd be able to say something or use it. But with the sword and with everything, I do think, yeah, Rika would have a very hard time beating uh, Mahoraga if it was without Yuta. But
Does against Yuji, or like she does against Ryu when she punches him. So on her own, she's just like a boxer, you could say. And Mahoraga would love to get in a boxing match with Rika. The fighting style, the fighting matchup is so bad for Rika because if they are sitting there boxing with each other, that one sword swing will take her out. And now I am about to get into a bit of spoilers, so just be warned. I'm telling you now, warning for the spoilers. But for those of you who don't care, I'll go ahead and tell you. We saw in the recent chapters, Sukuna taking over Megami's body. So who knows how strong this new Mahoraga will be? I want to know how strong you guys think this Mahoraga will be. We saw when Sukuna used the Nue. Nue is normally around the size of Megami or even like a little bit bigger. But we saw when Sukuna uses Nue, it is bigger than the building they're on. It looks about, I would say, 300 feet from wingtip to wingtip. So who can imagine how powerful the Sukuna Mahoraga will be? And I also want to know if you guys think that the Mahoraga will be bigger or if the Mahoraga will be the same size but just much stronger and faster. If I had to guess, I personally would say that I think Mahoraga is going to stay the same size, but would just gain enormous strength and speed. So it's lucky for Rika that, this versus battle is between the Mahoraga that we have seen so far and Rika's current state, even though that versus battle is bad for Rika. But this new Mahoraga, we don't have to get into that. That Mahoraga will completely slam Rika even worse than he already does. Now, I know some people.
I guess that's fair, but at the same time, I feel like you would have to compare only the one that Megami made, because if you use the one Sukuna uses, it's not fair that, I guess, because it's not Sukuna's ability to begin with. He stole that ability by going and taking over somebody. So I still feel like you couldn't give Mahoraga that buff just because it's not fair. The fact that that's another person, it's kind of like, if that's the case, then you would have to. I feel like it would only be fair if you threw like Yuta in there with her, because you're throwing Sukuna in there, who's giving them obvious power buffs because of his strength, but that's not his ability. Like I said, it's not his. It's not his body. He took all of that because he wanted that ability. So if you were going to do something like that, you would have to give Rika something, and I would say that something would be Yuta, which would give Rika that power buff of around the same, which would give Rika this around the same power buff as Mahoraga got by Sukuna coming into the picture. Because like you said, the other Shikigami, they became a lot more powerful and stronger due to Sukuna taking over. So it's only fair if Rika gets Yuta. So if Rika got Yuta, then I feel like that fight would go. It would definitely be a lot more than just one swing, because you would actually have to get to her to use that swing, and not to mention when Yuta's around, they take your ability that you already have. So whatever you can do, it showed in he showed it in one of these clips or whatever, but she said whatever you can. No, I think it was Yuta who said that. Either Yuta or Rika, I don't remember which one said it, but one of them said whatever you can do, I can do. So that's another thing, because Mahoraga can adapt to what you can do, your ability, what you can do, but she can't take it, or he can't take it. Mahoraga, whatever. Rika can take your ability, so that's what it would be a struggle for them to beat and Yuta and Rika. I know he's just saying Rika versus Mahoraga, but when he put, like I said, Sukuna into the picture, that's kind of adding somebody else in between, because like I said, that is not his ability. But so then I just feel like it's only fair if you add Sukuna into this picture, which is, I know he took over his body or whatever, but if you add Sukuna, it's only fair if you add Yuta into the picture. You know what I'm saying? Which is, I'm not saying that they would win, because even then, Yuta and Rika, they're strong, but Sukuna inside Fushiguro's body with all of his abilities, it would be extremely hard to beat for anybody. But I do think it would be a more of a fair fight than just to say, oh, Rika by herself versus Sukuna and Mahoraga, when that's not, when from the start it was never Sukuna's ability. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
People may disagree with this outcome, but I do think most of you guys will agree. But if you do disagree with the outcome of Rika getting beat badly, then let me know what you think would happen differently than just the sword taking her out of existence. And if you have an argument for Rika, then let me know in the comments below. And I also want to say, if you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like and subscribe.
All right, looks like that's the end of the video. But yeah, like I said, if it was just Rika versus Mahoraga, I do think yeah, Rika would lose. But if you go and you put the Mahoraga that Sukuna uses versus that Rika, I feel like then you have to add Yuta, and then it'll be a much more fair fight, because you would actually have, because yeah, Mahoraga still has that sword and everything, but at the same time, you got to realize there's somebody else there that's going to be trying to protect her, and that's not going to be their primary target at first. Their primary target is going to be the person that she's trying to protect, because that's when she comes out trying to protect him. So they're gonna come after Yuta first. So it would definitely be a much more fair fight. But then again, at the same time, they could just rush Rika and then freaking still hit her with the sword, and then, that's still an option. But yeah, I guess kind of like, I guess let me know what you guys think in the comments of this. If you guys think something else would happen, if you think Rika versus Mahoraga would be a much more fair fight, um, or Rika and Yuta versus Mahoraga and Sukuna would be a much more fair fight, or if you think the result would still be the same but maybe a little prolonged or whatever. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think in the comments, and that's the end of this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.